Welcome all to today's video. We'll be doing a oil service on a Skoda Fabia VRS. So this is the 1.4 engine, it's twin charged, so that means it makes noises, or in simple terms it's got a supercharger and it's got a turbocharger. So just to start off with, what we're going to do, we're going to start the car on, let it idle for a couple minutes. You can go take it for a spin if you like. What that will do is just allow the oil to circulate around the engine, so when we come to drain out all the oil, we know it's not been sitting in one place and the engine will still be lubricated. Okay, so the tools we'll be using for this oil service today, I've got a trolley to get underneath the car, in and out nice and quick. I've got my oil, of course. So this is a 0W30, best oil you can get for this car, heats up quick. That's a Castrol Edge C3. I've got my oil filter, that's our part code on there. As you see, it's for Volkswagen, Audi, Seat and Skoda, so it's all part of the badge group. So I've got some degreaser in here, so it's basically just some brake cleaner inside the solution. I've got my toolkit, some guns, lift kit here with some axle stands, some penetrant and my drain pan, and I've also got some gloves on just in case. Okay, so what I've just done now, I've lifted up our car at our jack point, which can be found just under this arch here. So wherever this point is, you can safely place your jack under there, have the axle stand. So I'm going to do this for both sides, roughly on the same area to get the front of the car raised up, which should allow us enough room to enter safely underneath and do our drain. Car is safely lifted up by jack stands on both sides. I've opened our oil filler cap just to let air circulate through the engine, and I have kindly placed a torch here just to show you where our drain plug is, which is underneath our oil sump, which is there. I'm just going to zoom in on our drain plug. It is facing opposite the engine, and that's our drain plug there. So we need a 19mm socket to get that. Hello, you can see my face for once. Okay, so underneath the car, I've got my oil drain pan over here. I'm just going to place it further away from my drain plug as the oil's going to shoot this way. So 19mm on the socket, and we're just going to proceed to take that out. Okay, so following our previous step, we have drained all the oil out of the car. So what we're going to do next is remove our oil filter. So conveniently placed just opposite our filler cap. As you see, that's our oil filter there. I've got my oil wrench to take that off. A bit of a design flaw, the alternator is just placed underneath the oil filter. So just a fair tip, what I was going to do is put a cloth there, so if any excess oil does drip out, it won't go into our alternator and cause an expensive job. I'm going to grip that on and then proceed to screw that loose and take that off.
Okay, so that's our old oil filter there, so I'm just going to place that on the side. I've got my replacement oil filter here. I'm not going to use, going to be a bit cheeky when you use a bit of this oil and place that on the rubber seal of our new oil filter. So that's our replacement there, all nice and shiny. I'm going to pop that out. So yeah, as you see, that's our O-ring here, no oil on it. So yeah, good word, rule of thumb, just seal that up like so, and that will prevent any leaks. So ideally what you want to do, if you do have a solution of some brake cleaner or degreaser, just spray around your oil cap and we can clean that up, likewise underneath. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get that cap, sorry, that oil filter, and torque that down. Okay, so bearing in mind that we haven't sealed up the underneath of our engine with the drain plug, we're going to install our new oil filter. So what I've done, I've lubricated this O-ring with a bit of the older oil just so that seals up correctly. And what I'm going to do, very carefully place that onto the thread and thread that on, making sure there's no crossing. So that's going in nice and smooth, like so. Okay, so our oil filter has been physically tightened to a point where it can't thread no more. And what I'm going to do, making sure that my cloth is still underneath our oil filter, so any excess residue drops onto that and onto our timing belt and alternator. I'm just going to quickly spray down our area, just getting all the excess oil off. Okay, so in an ideal world, ideally you want to be replacing that washer on your drain plug, but because I'm a hobbyist, I'm not going to do that. I'll probably replace this with a magnetic sump plug next time. But we're going to hand thread that on, making sure we're not cross threading, and as much as we can with our hand. And then what I'm going to quickly do with my degreasing solution, I'm going to spray
around there, so if there are any oil leaks in the future, we can know who and why. So torque spec for this is 32 Newton meters. I've got my ratchet here, and I'm going to finish that off with the torque ring. So just working in reverse, we're not loosening this time, we're tightening. And that's as tight as it'll go. So I'm going to get a torque wrench on that now, torque that up to 32, and then we're going to go fill up the oil. Okay, so what I've done now as I proceed to fill my oil in, so I've got the Castrol Edge here, 0W30. You can also use a 5W30 or a 5W40 C3 for this car. So for a drain and refill, you will need 3.6 litres to top up into there. So to get an accurate reading on my dipstick, what I've done, I have dropped the car back to a level descent, so I'll get an accurate reading on my oil dipstick. So that's my lift kit out of the way, car is down, handbrake is up. So I'm going to proceed to fill roughly about 3.5 litres, and then for the last increments I'll double check on the dipstick. So I've roughly filled around 3.5 litres, so just checking our oil dipstick. We are near our max level, as you can see, so if the camera does want to focus on it. But yeah, as you do see, we're about here. Oil is nice and golden, so we can pop that back in. Okay, so now that our oil service is complete, we're going to reset the service indicator. So what you're going to do is jump in your car, just switch your car on to ignition accessory mode. So you don't want to turn it on just yet, give some time for your oil pump to prime up. So pressing down here on our trip knob, we're going to go down to settings and then press our OK button down here. We're going to go all the way down to service, OK again, reset, and that will reset our service indicator on our car.